So, till the 60s, companies were collecting data and they're being stored in different, probably mainframes, Unix-based computers, or in handwritten ledgers and just notebooks, either manual or in old-fashioned computers. The problem was the systems and different departments were not connected. All the connection, which means connecting the production data to the sales data, to the finance data, or the human resource data to the finance data, they're all being done manually. So there are many, many reports. Every manager had his own report, but they're not connected. So obviously there was a need to have one connected system across the company which cuts across all the functions, all the levels. And slowly over the last 50, 60 years, this initiative came up which is called Enterprise Resource Planning, which is an integrated software platform to manage the company and all its operations at all its level, across all its departments and geographies and product lines in integrated way. But it did not happen overnight. It took time, it took decades. So if you look at the 60s, and you can look at the screen which shows the evolution, in 60s, ultimately the companies had to report the financials to the shareholders. So there was a system to prepare the financials of the company, and everybody else had to feed in their data so that the final profit and loss account or the balance sheet or the cash flow could be calculated and shared outside. Involved a lot of manual operations because a lot of the data was either handwritten or manual or in standalone mainframe computers, different locations, different offices. So if you look at it through the 60s, some of the data started getting integrated. And then 70s, some more started getting integrated till you came to the 80s. And what happened was an initiative came up which was called MRP, Manufacturing Resource Planning. And it came in two versions, MRP and MRP2. And what happened in this initiative was that the production processes started getting integrated. Earlier, sales had a forecast as to how much sales will happen in the next month or the next 3 months, but maybe production people did not have access to it. In fact, when I was working for a company in the 80s, I faced a situation where marketing department was working on a forecast of, let's say, 100. But sales was saying that 100 can't be sold, so they're working on a forecast of 50. But production people had created the capacity for 200. So marketing was on 100, sales was on 50, and production was on 200. So there are many numbers floating around in the company. And obviously what happened was the production people sourced a lot of raw material, packaging material, chemicals, etc., and produced 200. But only 50 could get sold. And therefore there's a lot of excess inventory, finished goods, raw material, packaging material, chemicals, etc., etc. And it was chaos. And because you're carrying excess inventory, there's a cost of carrying that inventory. So it's a classic case of where sales is operating with one number, marketing has another number, and production people have another number. So for the first time, this initiative called MRP or MRP2, Manufacturing Resource Planning or Manufacturing Resource Planning 2, started to integrate the sales, operations, finance into one system so everybody could see the same data. And that was called the one number. So different function, different levels did not see different numbers, also one number. And then through the 90s, more functions got integrated. And companies like Oracle and SAP, etc., started creating systems which would integrate all the functions, all the levels, all the departments, all the products, all the geography, all the divisions of a company into one system. So one company, one system. And then if you look at 2000s, the internet came through. Because even if you may want to integrate everything, before internet, if you had an office in Delhi, one in Bombay, one in Calcutta, one in Madras, in those days, by today's name, of course, it will be Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai, etc. If you had multiple offices, and if you had multiple factories, and you had multiple warehouses, data had to be transferred through floppy disks or drives or tapes. So it was one system, one company, but the data was still not being transferred seamlessly because there's a lot of floppies and hard disks and drives that got shared across locations. But the internet started solving that problem because with internet, all the data across factories, offices, warehouses, sales hubs, customer locations, all the data could flow into one central repository. And they're all connected. And we'll see some examples in a while of different kinds of reports and so on and so forth. So one company, one system, all interconnected. And then in the last few years, cloud computing came in. So though you had one company, one system, all interconnected, a lot of the data was still being stored and reports generated from a central server or a central server hub. But once cloud came in, everything could actually be uploaded to the cloud. So now we had one company, one system, one cloud that collated all the data and generated all the reports, and it's all integrated. And now, of course, what's coming in is about using artificial intelligence to process some of the data. And that's coming in a very big way. So that's the evolution of ERP. Now let's start looking a bit deeper and what are the parts of ERP. So if you look at the modules of ERP, all the functions have corresponding ERP modules. So there's a physical activity and there's the data and the data module or the ERP module related to that activity. So manufacturing is a key activity, all the data related to manufacturing. Finance is a key activity, all the data related to financial management, cash management, reporting, etc. Controlling is one module. Human resource and human resource management is a key activity of the company. And therefore, it's a key activity of ERP in terms of modules, data storage, and report generation. Similarly, you've got the entire aspect of customer management, sales, customer relationships, customer service, customer growing or leaving, customer advocacy. All of these would be in the customer and the market side. You could also have market share. So we've got production modules, finance modules, people-related modules, sales modules, market modules and competition modules. R&D is a key activity in terms of how much is the expense and how much is the revenue from new products. You could have a module around that. And then, of course, there's a lot of performance management. Is the performance of the company going up or down? And then the performance of the brand, or performance of an office, or performance of a geography, performance of a country, performance of a sales manager, performance of a brand or performance of a brand manager. All of this can be analyzed and it's all integrated. So this is what an ERP module, an ERP architecture would look like. So if those are the modules of ERP, let's look at what are the kind of reports that actually get generated. Who uses them for what purpose? So the ERP reports can be different depending on the level or the role. So the report that a salesperson gets at a territory level, at a small district level, can be very different from what the national manager or the global manager sees. So level and role. It also in terms of functions and responsibility. So operations manager will see operations report, but the salesperson will see sales report. The HR person will see HR reports. So it's also different for different functions and responsibilities. It is also driven by key performance indicators. So for sales, what are the key performance indicators? Growth in revenues, growth in customers, sales per customer, etc., etc. For production, unit volumes produced, quality of production, cost of production. For human resource people, training, development, recruiting, wages, etc. So everybody sees different kinds of reports related to his or her job. So let's go through different kinds of reports. Remember, as I said, in the earlier world, when we had just MIS and separate, these reports are probably hand-prepared or standalone. And a lot of times there will be differences between different kinds of report. With ERP, well-implemented ERP system, these reports will all get interconnected. So every company will have a chief executive officer or a managing director or a president. And typically, the CEO will see reports like that on the screen. High level, corporate level, company level, financial performance, strategic planning and how are you performing versus the plan report, market analysis, and of course risk management, because the CEO has to take care of the risk. So high level, strategic, total company kind of reports. Then the finance head, VP Finance, Chief Finance Officer, Head of Finance, etc. He or she will see profit and loss report, balance sheet, cash flow, budgeting and forecasting, also compliance. These are kind of reports that the CFO and his team will see. Then if you look at other functions and other levels, the marketing manager will see market-related reports. It could be market segmentation. For example, if you're selling the same soap, how is online performing versus offline? Example. How are the rich soaps performing or the more expensive premium soap performing versus the mass soaps? Also, customer insights, market studies, competition, etc. The sales manager, who is driving day-to-day sales at different levels, will look at different sales reports such as the funnel. How many customers do I have in my pipeline? How big is my customer pipeline? So if you have sales, monthly sales of 100, maybe you should have a customer pipeline or a sales funnel of 500 or 1,000, because not everybody in the funnel will actually become your customer. These are potential customers. So sales manager will also have to drive today's customers, but also future customers. Lead conversion, which means if I get a lead that this customer might, this future customer, this potential customer might become a real customer, buy my product, that's a lead. So how many of those leads am I converting? And then, as I said, geographic divisions at territory level, state level, district level, divisional level, country level, or maybe Asia Pacific or Europe or US level for a global company. The human resource manager, of course, will look at performance reports, productivity reports, hiring reports. How many people are leaving? If too many people leave, there's a problem. So there's attrition reports. Training reports, because if you don't train your employees, they will not perform. So training reports. The human resource manager will look at all of these reports. And then you can come to the operation side, and they'll look at different kind of operational reports. Inventory, efficiency, quality, supply chain, order fulfillment. If I get 100 rupees of order or 100 pieces order, am I able to fulfill all the 100, or can I fulfill only 90, in which case I've lost an order? What's the cost of machinery? What's my capital that I'm putting into operations? How many plants do I have? How are the plants comparing? How is plant A comparing versus plant B? If you look at the IT manager, information technology manager, he's looking at the IT services, the network itself, the IT network, computers, routers, servers. So he'll be looking at uptime report, downtime report, cyber security report. Has there been hacking of the system? Cost of the infrastructure report, utilization of infrastructure report. So that's what he will look at. The product manager or the brand manager who's managing brands and products or categories, he will look at his product. A company may have 20 different kinds of products, soaps and shampoos, diapers, creams, detergents, floor cleaners, etc., etc. Every product will have a product manager, and he'll look at his product. And he'll look at things like the product life cycle, or if he's launching new versions of his product, what are the product launch reports? What is the customer feedback on his product? So he'll look at his product reports, the adoption rates, etc. If you look at the procurement manager, he will look at procurement reports. A big company with, let's say, 1,000 crores of sales or $1 billion of sales will be procuring goods worth 200, 300 crores, maybe $200 or $300 million of goods. So he will look at supplier performance report. How good are the suppliers performing in on-time delivery, cost. He will also look at, am I carrying too much of inventory because my suppliers are not good? Am I running out of inventory because my suppliers are not supplying on time? Are my cost of procurement going down or going up, etc.? And importantly, customer service managers, they'll look at the customer satisfaction level, customer advocacy level, customer loyalty level, problem resolution level. If a customer has problem, how well am I able to solve that problem? So these are all reports that come to managers in a company at different levels different functions, different responsibilities, different products, different geographies, different countries. And an ERP system makes sure that all of it is integrated and increasingly in the cloud. So hopefully that gives you a feel of what an ERP system can do for the company. Up till now, we have talked about information within the company, used by the employees of the company. But a company also has to publicize for the public information, because the public may become shareholders of the company, which means that they may be buying the shares or they may be investing in the company. It could be a regulatory body, it could be a government body, it could be customers, and they need information, because if a company is not publicizing its information, nobody will invest in that company. If they are not advertising their products and services, nobody will buy their product. And therefore, apart from advertising, which comes under marketing, there's a lot of information that is shared by any company to the outside world. And this could be things like an annual report, which is a mandatory requirement by law to publish every year the operations of the company. And the operations will include what was the nature of the business, what is the profits, losses, balance sheets, cash flows, and in terms of the strategic information, how is the company doing overall. And that's called an annual report. But for the general public, companies, most companies, in fact all companies will probably have a website where you get a lot of the information. I'll show you some examples in a while. So the website. There'll also be social media handle, because companies want to publicize themselves, also show others how good they are, and also for the customers, tell about new products, etc., to the outside world. Press releases, when important things happen, a company may want to give a press release. And increasingly very important, how is the company working to make sure that they're environmentally responsible. They're not doing anything to harm the environment or the social good they're doing, or how well they're governed, which is called ESG, which I've talked in one of my earlier modules. So let's look at some examples. So here's an example of the biggest bank in India, a great company, a great bank, one of the top banks in the world and definitely the biggest in India, State Bank of India, which most of you who are listening to this will be aware of. So I encourage all of you to go and have a look at the website of the State Bank of India. And the bank will put a lot of information on that website. And every company, whichever company that you want to look up, whichever product that you use, whichever service that you use, the provider of that product or service, the company behind it, will probably have a website. So that's the website. There'll also be social media handles. So this is a social media handle, it's a very nice handle, a LinkedIn handle of State Bank. But they may also be on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And they may be providing information just for the general public or for future employees, people who want to work for them so that they can hire good people, or customers, etc. So social media. Annual reports is not only a legal requirement, but it also gives the public and investors and shareholders a good feel of how is the company done year by year. So there will be an annual report for every year. And this is a State Bank repository. It's in their website. You can go and have a look of all the annual reports. So there's a specific section in the website for investor which has all the annual reports. So this is the repository or the web page for SBI annual reports. And this is what an annual report will look like. It will actually be a document. So this document is a cover page I'm showing you, will probably be about 350 to 400 pages long. It'll give a lot of information. Not just the financial information, but also the operating information. It's a solid book. And all shareholders will get access to it either through a soft copy or a hard copy. Increasingly soft copy to save paper. So you should look up some of the annual reports. And this is in Hindi, but you'll see that the annual report, whichever language is published in, English, Hindi, German, Spanish, French, Chinese, Japanese, will have basic information in terms of financials and the highlights. What is the market capitalization? How many branches, how many people, how many countries, how many areas, how many products. So all the highlights will be there, plus the activities, plus the strategies. So that's the annual report. Press releases, unlike an annual report which comes once a year with a lot of detail, press releases are basically releases when important activities happen. For example, every quarter the earnings come out. And this is a press release from State Bank of India about their performance. But it could also be new product launch or a seminar or an event or a new office opening or a new plant opening or some recognition that they have won. These are all press releases where a company communicates to the press and then the press publishes it for the general public. So these were some examples of external information which a company shares with the outside world. So in this module, I talked about internal information managed through an ERP system, used by all the employees, and then I talked about information that's shared in the public domain. So now I'd like you to reflect for 3 minutes on the same company that you have thought of before. Try to look up their external websites or social media handles or the reports, annual reports, or the press releases, and look for some information that they are publishing outside. Remember, there's the same information that you see as an external person is what also is driving the company internally. Except that internally, managers see far more details. So try to look for some of the external information available for a company that you know or you have thought of before. Go through those information and try to capture some highlights and write it down in a course journal. So please reflect. So this is the end of the module. Thank you. Namaskar.